So it is 6:30. We're going to go ahead and get started. I hope you guys all have a full glass of wine.
No, I disagree.
In full disclosure, we have some ulterior motives for giving you the wine tonight. I learned back in school that when you're in a sympathetic or stressed out state, you actually cannot learn or retain new information as well. So we wanted to cheat a little bit and get you guys nice and relaxed and ready to absorb everything. We've got a ton of great information, so I'm excited for you guys to learn it all. So I want to ask you guys a quick question. Who here has ever been to the gym? Right? Raise your hand. Thanks. All right. So we know there's two types of people who go to the gym. We've got the man with his earphones in. He is focused in on his workout, very engaged, staring at the treadmill, huffing and puffing the whole time, right? Then you've got the other person. It's the lady walking around. She makes eye contact with everyone, and anyone who looks at her is her best friend. She is making sure everyone's having a happy, perfect day, right? So, who do we think is getting the most out of their 1 hour workout when they're at the gym? Is it the man who is actively engaged and focused, or is it the lady who is talking to everybody and just there to make friends?
Lady talking to everybody and making friends.
Well, I mean, I think she's having a great time. If we're talking about getting the most out of her exercise, then yeah, we're going to go with option A, right? It's the man who's focused and engaged. All right, I'm going to really ask you guys to engage with us while we're up here. I get really awkward otherwise, so please help me out. Just a little bit about myself before we get started. I figure you guys should know a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Morgan Keel. I am from Niceville, Florida. Yes, it is as nice as the name implies. I grew up a very blissful life. I had two parents, an older brother. We grew up at the beach. I don't think I knew what stress was for a long time. Like, we played, even when I used to get grounded, I used to go for a long run to my friend's house, and then hang out with them for a couple of hours, and then run home. I thought it was so sneaky, and my parents just, they were so nice, didn't say anything. Anyway, so yeah, I had a great childhood. We played games. I grew up playing competitive sports all the time. Beat my brother just about everything, so that was always satisfying. Then I went to college. So I ran Division I cross country and track in college. And within the first 3 months of school, my running mileage doubled. So we were running 75 to 80 miles a week at some points. I don't care who you are. There is no amount of preparation that will prepare you for that. That is a lot of stress on anyone's body. Can you all agree there? Yeah, that was ridiculous. On top of that, for the first time in my life, I didn't have my parents there to make sure I was eating a very balanced, healthy, nutritious diet. And I hung out with people who weren't my athletic friends. So I practiced at 6:30 in the morning. They did not. They liked to go out at nighttime, and I liked to go out with them. So obviously I was not getting adequate sleep for a couple of years of my life. Now, all throughout college, again, I ran Division I sports. I was sick all the time. You know, growing up at home with my parents, I never missed school for anything, ever. It was fine. Once I got to college, literally every single semester that I was there, I missed 1, 2, sometimes 3 days of class just for being sick or being exhausted. On top of that, I tore tendons, I tore ligaments, I had bursitis going on, I even fractured bones in my foot. Who here has seen the lady, or anybody, walking around with the walking boot on their foot, right? Been there? I hate that thing. I hate that stupid thing. There's nothing that you can wear that makes that not noticeable. It's impossible. Anyway, so you wear the walking boot because it's supposed to take the stretch off the bones, and that way your body can heal the fracture itself, right? Well, I wore the walking boot for 2.5 weeks longer than you're supposed to, and my fractures did not heal at all. So my body at this point was not repairing itself. So for 4 years, I had these red flags of being sick all the time. My body literally breaking down, my body not healing itself. And I ignored every single red flag. It was young and foolish. Fast forward again, I graduated college and I got my very first professional job. I worked at a children's development center. I love kids, I really do. They give me life, they give me energy. But being surrounded by 40 kids for 40 hours a week with a lot of energy was a lot. It was a lot of anxiety. Who here gets stressed out with 2 kids? Or 2 kids for 3 hours, right? I don't know, multiply that by however many to get 40 kids for 40 hours a week, and I was struggle busting. If any of you guys have worked with kids, which I'm sure some of you guys in here have, you know that going into work whenever you're exhausted, you're grumpy, you're angry, you're going to see kids, that's not the right mindset to have. So I very quickly realized that that was not the right path for me, so I transitioned. My next professional job, I switched into corporate America, and I worked at Merrill Lynch. Does anyone here know what Merrill Lynch is? Yeah, it is a retirement firm, and they have a lot of clients with a lot of money. My specific job, or my particular job, was to literally tell multimillionaires legally what they could and could not do with their money. Every time you tell them they cannot do something, their first reaction is, how much do you make? And you tell them that you're an hourly employee, and that is never the right answer. These people will scream at you on the phone, and it doesn't matter how sweet and how innocent you sound, they are so angry. I can get by with a lot, but not with these men. Oh my goodness. Money's over my head, getting yelled at. I don't know if you guys are like me, but when I get yelled at or like stressed out, I like shut down, like panic, and take it out on people. It's not, it's a mess. It's awful. So yeah, I was dealing with this job and dealing with that all the time, and it was not fun. Now, like I said, I grew up playing sports and running, and I ran in college. While I was working at Merrill Lynch, I literally almost completely stopped working out. I was so exhausted from going to work every day and trying to deal with these customers and trying to deal with money that I had no business dealing with, that I would be too tired to go to the gym, and I would feel guilty for not going to the gym on top of it, right? I should have realized at that point that once something that used to be a stress reliever for me became a stressor in my life, that was a huge problem, and I just failed to recognize it. So I was working at Merrill Lynch for about a year, and I remember sitting at my desk one day, and out of nowhere, I got this immense stomach pain that I'd never experienced in my entire life. I was doubling over in my desk. It was unbearable. So I went to the bathroom, and sorry if this is TMI for anyone in the room. I never had a UTI before, but I was peeing blood, and I panicked. You know, professionally, I panicked. I went home. Thank God my roommate is a genius, or so I thought at least. So there were two of us living in a one-bathroom apartment, and she gave me gallons of water and like jugs of all the sugar-free cranberry juice that we could find that day. And she told me, drink all of this, don't leave the bathroom, you'll fine in a day. So that's exactly what I did. I probably drank 2 gallons of water in 24 hours, drank all of the cranberry juice that I could. And rather than my symptoms getting better, they got worse, more severe, more intense. And 24 hours after I called out of work the first time, I was peeing on the bathroom, peeing blood every 10 to 15 minutes. And at this point I was terrified, so my roommate took me to the ER. I went to the ER, they took some tests, they couldn't figure out what was going on, sent me home with a bunch of painkillers and a bunch of antibiotics. I didn't have a UTI, I had skipped that entirely, it was just straight in my bladder, they told me. So yeah, they sent me home not knowing what was going on. The pain got worse, the blood got more and more every time I went to the bathroom. This time instead of 10 to 15 minutes, it got closer to 5 to 10 minutes. I was going to the bathroom, and thank God my mother loves me as much as she does. They live within a day's drive away. She came into town to take care of me. So at this point we had 3 women with 1 bathroom and me going to the bathroom every 5 to 10 minutes. That obviously didn't work, right? So my mom, bless her, she rented me in her hotel room, and for the next 3 weeks, ladies, my mom and I lived in a hotel room. She cooked dinner for me she cooked every single meal for me for 3 weeks. She wanted to make sure that I was eating well and eating nutritious foods that were going to clean me out. She made sure that I stayed hydrated, because when you go to the bathroom that frequently, if you get too dehydrated, I don't know if you know this, but your organs shut down, okay? On top of that, I don't handle stress and anxiety well, so when I freak out, I take it out on those that I love most, which in this case, my mom was right there, and so she got the brunt of it, unfortunately. So she did everything she could to make sure that I was calm and relaxed, and then also making sure that I was sleeping, because there were some days I couldn't leave the bathroom for more than 30 seconds. It was really bad. Over the course of those 3 weeks, I had been to every single emergency room in Jacksonville. I had been to every, no joke, every urologist, every OB who was there. We went to every specialist that I could find. No one could tell me what was going on. We had multiple scopes done, multiple biopsies done. They took tissue out of my bladder, out of my reproductive organs 3 separate times, and no one could figure it out. I thought I was dying. the last time I went to the ER, I had enough morphine to take down like a 240-pound man by the time that I finally was able to stand up without pain. I was peeing every 30 seconds. Like, I had to wear a Depends diaper just to get to the ER. It was awful. So they finally, what they decided to do, the doctors decided the best option was to cut out a piece of my bladder. Yeah. I am never an advocate for cutting out parts of your bodies, ladies. Having said this, like, I have parts of my body already gone, and they said to do this, and I was like, I am in so much pain. I don't care what you have to do. Do what you need to make it stop. Has anyone else ever been there, like, in that much pain? It is the worst place to be. I've never understood this saying, like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy until I went through it. So we scheduled the appointment for about 6 days later. I just kept taking the painkillers, and for 6 days I didn't have any appointments. So me and my mom, lived life accordingly, and we made sure that if we went anywhere, there was a bathroom nearby. We stayed as relaxed as we could, but we tried to enjoy our time together because I knew after she went home, I was going to be moving to go to grad school, and I wouldn't get to see her for a while. So for 6 days we did that, and then I went in the morning for my surgery when they were going to cut out part of my bladder. They put me down under anesthesia, pulled me back out a couple hours. I woke up, and the surgeon was standing like a foot away from my face, and he was like, "We don't know what happened." Any of you guys have ever heard that, or haven't? For those of you who haven't, it is terrifying. I literally was like, "Oh my God, I cut out everything." Thank God, that's not what happened. He said, "We can't find any sign of your infection. We don't know what caused it. We don't know what made it go away, but it's gone. So the best thing that we can tell you right now is that you had a spontaneous recovery." He said, "If it ever comes back, we don't know what to tell you to do because we don't know what caused it." I am here telling you, I wish I had known now what I knew then about stress. From the day that I started undergrad to this culminating with 6 years later, I had red flag after red flag after red flag that I was too stressed out and that I was not taking care of myself. And all it took was 3 weeks of good nutrition, good rest, keeping myself calm, and my body knew what to do on its own, okay? So I know that everyone in here has not gone through what I've gone through, but I know everyone in this room has stress in their lives, okay? This is something that if we don't learn how to deal with on our own, it will affect us and it will cause some problems. For me, it led to my bladder almost completely shutting down, okay? With that being said, I'm here to tell you guys all about cortisol, all about the effects of stress on your body and ways that you can combat it, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Sorry, I know that was a lot. It was, honest to goodness, the worst 3 weeks of my life, but now I know. Okay. I don't remember how to change this.
Click right.
I thought I was.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it sticks.
This is what we're doing. Stress and your health. All right, yeah, so in your folders we have like a fill in the blank / note sheet if you guys want to follow along. They just highlighted some of your points. Okay, so this group right here, it shows us, well, let's go ahead and start here. So, stress and cortisol it's hugely important in your body, right? It regulates almost every function that we have. It's necessary for everything because every cell in our body has a receptor for cortisol, okay? So it regulates a lot of your other hormones, your sexual hormones, your blood pressure hormones, so those are important. It also plays a role in your glucose metabolism and how your immune system functions. It affects things like your heart. Cortisol affects your blood pressure. It also has a lot to do with the amount of water that you're excreting when you go to the bathroom, which is another way that it regulates blood pressure, okay? On top of that, it goes to your eyes, it affects your GI tract, it affects your reproductive organs. We can see how important cortisol is, right? So we want a little bit of it in our body. The problem is, in our current society, we have too much of it, okay? So, let's go back to cortisol. Whenever you get stressed out, cortisol is actually a good thing. It is the hormone that's responsible for your body's fight or flight response. So for example, if you're running from a bear, you want the cortisol response, right? It's going to get you into your sympathetic state. It's going to elevate your heart rate. It's going to speed up the rate that you're breathing. It's going to divert all the blood going to your arms and legs rather than going to your organs of digestion and reproduction. No one needs to make a poo while they're running from a bear. No one's trying to form a baby when they're trying to, save their own life. Does this all make sense? So, under normal circumstances, we actually want the stress response that cortisol gives us. Again, in our modern society, we are hyper stressed out, okay? So, this blue, or this chart is great. The blue line is showing us what we want the cortisol spike to actually look like, okay? So cortisol also, another thing that it does is it regulates your body's melatonin, which we know is responsible for your sleep and circadian rhythm. So whenever you have a cortisol spike, it lowers your melatonin levels. That is another reason, that's one of the main reasons we want the cortisol first thing in the morning. Another reason is because it takes 4 hours for half of the cortisol your body takes to get out of your body, right? So under ideal situations, you're going to have your most significant stressors in the morning. It's going to reduce the levels of melatonin to make you alert for the day, and then it's going to decrease throughout the day. That way, later on towards the evening, you're ready to calm down and go to bed. This orange line is showing us more of what actually happens for us. So we wake up in the morning with an alarm clock that jolts everyone awake. Not our favorite way. Then you've got to get the kids out of bed. They're running late for school. We forgot breakfast, forgot their lunches. You're stressed again. When you get to work, your boss gives you a new project but doesn't leave you enough time, right? And you go home, you're sitting in traffic, and traffic kills everybody's happiness. I don't care what you guys say. Traffic is awful. Then you go home and find out your husband didn't fold the laundry like he promised, so now you have to do it before you cook dinner for the whole family, right? Stress. It stays elevated all day long. Now, there are some studies that talk about how much more stressed we are than our grandparents. They're saying like we're 100 times more stressed than our grandparents were. Truth be told, we experience more stress in 1 hour of our lives than our grandparents did an entire year. Right? This is unbelievable. Part of this has to do with like cell phones, being able to research every ailment you have on WebMD. I'm telling you guys, WebMD will always tell you have cancer. You might, I don't know, but you probably don't have cancer. WebMD's the worst. You don't have to worry about what, or we didn't have to worry about what Korea was going to do with their bombs. You didn't always have to be available to everyone 24/7. Our lives are not rational. Like, we have excessive amounts of stress every day, okay? So, another bad thing about stress is that it literally just builds up throughout the day. Remember I said it takes 4 hours for half the cortisol to get out of your system? If you don't give it time for the cortisol to come back up, it just keeps going up, okay? It doesn't level off on its own. Now this chart, quite frankly, I hate this chart. It gives me anxiety. My cortisol spikes. The big thing that I want you guys to notice on this chart is, so cortisol is responsible for a lot of your hormones in your body, okay? It regulates everything. What I want you to see here is, you notice that cortisol is introduced here. You have decreased production of aldosterone. You have decreased production of testosterone. You also have decreased production of estrogen. This is the precursor to estrogen. Don't ask me to pronounce it. It's not pretty. Okay. Honestly, I would tell you how this leads to the breakdown of all these things, but it gives me PTSD from boards, and I'm trying to make it through this. So if you want, I can explain it to you. It's a lot of information that is quite frankly useless. I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the thing with decreased testosterone, we all know that testosterone runs wild in men. Ladies, we also want testosterone, okay? This is what gives us our libido. It gives us want our significant others. We here would like to have a more active love life with our spouse. That wasn't a rhetorical question. We all want our spouse, right? Like, that's natural. So if we have less testosterone, that is just going to kill that, okay? So going back to the estrogens here, decreased estrogen is huge for women, okay? Estrogen has a lot of effects on our bodies. By inhibiting osteoclastic ability or activity, it is responsible for how sturdy and strong our bones are. Estrogen also affects the way that your body deals with fat and proteins, which cortisol also does. On top of that, of course, estrogen is responsible for proliferating the lining of your uterus, right? It thickens the walls of your uterus. So this is getting you through puberty. It's also responsible for how pregnancy happens. Estrogen makes the walls of the uterus thicker. That way, whenever you have a fertilized egg, it has something strong to implant onto. If you don't have that estrogen lining, if the walls aren't strong enough, it's not going to be strong enough to hold the implanted egg. This is how pregnancy happens. So if we have an issue with our hormones and estrogen levels in our body, it's going to make pregnancy and conceiving that much more difficult. One of the many ways that being overly stressed literally affects your body's ability to conceive a child, okay? Sorry if anyone here is going through that, but This is serious, guys. Just being stressed out alone can do that. All right. On the other hand of this, if you have rapidly dropping testosterone levels, or I'm sorry, estrogen levels, this is what's going to give you guys the hot flashes, okay? It's when you rapidly drop the estrogen and the progesterone has to catch back up. It's a mess, okay? I go through hot flashes and I'm not going through menopause or anything like that. This is hormones being out of whack. Who here has had a hot flash and they're not going through menopause? Like, it's exactly, right? This is why, ladies. We know it's not normal. Well, it's happening. It's common, and this is because why. The thing with aldosterone is huge for your blood pressure and water. So whenever you have excess cortisol, drops down the amount of aldosterone that you have in your body. So whenever you have low levels of aldosterone, that is what's going to signal your kidneys to secrete sodium. And whenever your kidneys secrete sodium, we know that water follows sodium. Sodium into the bloodstream means it's pulling water, which means you're going to go to the bathroom more, which is what's going to lower your blood pressure, okay? That's how that happens. Now, also, when you're stressed out, your body really, that's what I'm getting mixed up, I'm sorry. All right, so on top of that, so whenever you're going to the bathroom a lot because you're excreting all the sodium from your kidneys, that's when you start getting the cravings for the salty foods. So in case you guys are ever wondering why you crave salty foods or why you crave these foods that you know aren't good for you when you're stressed out, that's why right there, okay? Who here has ever said this? I am so stressed out, I'm going to lose my mind. I say this all the freaking time. This is actually a real thing. Whenever you're stressed out, the cortisol literally breaks down and degenerates your brain tissue. This is because your brain has the most receptors for cortisol in it out of all the cells in your entire body. The areas that get hit the most are the hippocampus, hypothalamus, prefrontal cortex, and the amygdala. So, when you're stressed out, do you guys notice that you have issues remembering the small details of things? Or, you don't necessarily remember what happened when you were freaking out? I know, like, for me, when I'm super emotional, I don't remember a word that you said. I just remember exactly the impression that I got from it. I wish I had the details more, but we'll let those ones go. All right, so the hypothalamus, the big thing here, it controls a lot of functions. For today, we're going to focus on it does depression, anxiety, and PTSD, okay? So just know that whenever your mood changes, whenever you're stressed out, like scientifically that is actually happening. It's not just a mood swing, okay? Now the prefrontal cortex, this is for your reasoning and decision making. We've all heard men say women are crazy. We are not crazy, okay? We get stressed out and then our decision making, we have to try a little bit harder. But this is a real thing, like we actually do when we're stressed out. We have to work harder to make our rational and reasoning thought work appropriately, okay? The amygdala, that is literally like, I can't remember what the example they gave us in our AP Psych class was. Apparently there's some sort of fighter jet that's like a MiG something or another. I don't know, but apparently it's like, it makes you want to kill things. You get angry, you just get irrational and irritable and everything. The amygdala is the part of your brain that's responsible for that. So, can we see or maybe recognize some of these symptoms that we've all had when we're really stressed out? Because I'm pretty sure I exhibit each and every one of them every single time. Yeah, all right. So, on top of that, this one's great. So, when you're in this hyper stressed out, no, we're not going to do that. So obviously when you're like in a really stressed out state for a long period of time, you have excessive cortisol building up in your system. The excessive cortisol literally breaks down your muscle tissue into sugar, okay? So that is effectively lowering your metabolic rate, meaning you're burning fewer calories, okay? Then it's taking all the sugar. The sugar then goes to your liver and it's converted into fat, okay? Who here has heard of liver disease? Who here knew that liver disease was caused by stress? I did not know. I mean, obviously it's caused by a lot of other things. Alcoholism is a big one. But stress can literally cause liver cirrhosis, and I had no idea. Your liver is responsible for filtering out everything in your body. If you get liver failure from stress, that is adding insult to injury. Not only are you stressed with the cortisol, but now your body can't get rid of all the other toxins in the bloodstream. Okay? This is why if we don't learn to manage our stress, it's going to lead to organ failure, ladies. I have been there. You don't have to let it get that far. So, cortisol sends the blood into your liver, it's converted into fat. Isn't it nice to be able to say that our weight gain is not only because we're stressed out, we can't go to the gym, there's a scientific reason. So I'm not trying to tell you guys that we don't need to exercise, that we need to just meditate and lower our stress, because that's not what I'm doing. In all honesty, there are certain things that we can do to help lower our stress, and exercise is a good one. Now, there are exercises that can increase and decrease our stress levels. That is where my colleague, Miss Rachel Giverny over here, or Rachel Groves from Giverny comes in. She's going to tell us all about exercises and how they can help our body manage that cortisol on its own, okay? All right, well, Miss Rachel.
Okay, you know those hot flashes she just talked about? I am menopausal. That's all right, it's been 10 years. When's that go away?
It does not. You're stuck.
For how long? Not if we listen to them! Okay, for real. I'm the more introverted one of the three. So, like for real, I want you to just stand up. Just stand up. Put your folders down. No, this is not optional, so get up. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to, like this, high knees, squeeze your abdominal floor right there, high knees, right there, right there. Now you've got a medicine ball. I do a lot of pretending. Right here. Squeeze your, right there, that medicine ball. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Now kick, squeeze, kick the bottles of cream. Kick, squeeze your abs as you're doing it. Now I want you to do this. Now you're not doing that. You're breathing legs. You're holding your tummy. You're squeezing. You're squeezing. You're squeezing. You're squeezing. Now this. Now, we're not really doing jumping jacks because you're too close to each other. Do you see like tap, tap to the side, tap to the side, tap to the side? Some of you are just putting very little effort in. Okay, quick sit down. Now, class. One word or two words of what that, I'm out of breath. One word or two words how that made you feel. Be kind. How that made you feel. Now you're going to turn and talk for just 30 seconds. Go.
Tired.
3, 2, 1. When I get to 0, your eyes are on me. Okay. Oh, I heard somebody say math teacher. How you knew that? Okay, so you know what I heard right up here? Say what you said. Like, what else?
Tired.
Like, all at the same time, because I'll say this to the kids. I'll go in 3, 2, 1, and tell me how what your thoughts are about saying 3, 2, 1.
Invigorate.
Oh, they already did it. I'm talking to all of you. 3, 2, 1.
Tired.
This is what I heard. This is what I heard. I heard that. So I'm going to pick out of it what's in my notes. So I loved this because this is true. It's kind of a wake up, invigorating. She gave us some great information that I was sitting back there listening because I'm kind of dealing with some cortisol issues, and Scott, I'm working with Scott, and it's been very helpful. So we're getting started here, but I'm excited about this. So I'm glad you're here, and you are too. You're wanting information, obviously. So what does this, what we just did, have to do with what? I'm just going to spend like 5 minutes. I'll go fast. What does that have to do with it? What do you think?
Exercise and cortisol.
It is. It's the truth, and it's the truth. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit very little about my experience. So I was in the classroom as a youngster, out of the classroom for a long time, raising 4 kids. And so I taught fitness classes at the same time at Giverny Fitness Studio around the corner. And then I jumped back in the classroom because kids had to go to college. So, and I know kids, and I know teaching. So I got back into the classroom, and I was a little bit older at the time. Not now, but I was then. And so then I'm hearing things like, I would listen to my teammates, and I would hear, I'm exhausted. I am stressed. And that came up all the time. My body feels like it's breaking down. I'm sick a lot, like perpetually sick. I can't seem to get it together. And it was almost like a zone of teachers are high. If you want to be a teacher, it's a highly stressed, underpaid, unappreciated job. Come on! Yeah, it's true. So, and I have teachers in here, so they can vouch for this. But we do love kids, and being there for them and their families. It's you're not off the clock. Not on the weekends, not in the summer. You're not off the clock. So, I kept hearing this, and I thought, okay, what do I know? What do I know? All right, I know fitness. I know exercise. I know what it does for me. And so I said, well, we stay after school, and I didn't use the E word, which is exercise. And then I said, I didn't use the W word, which is workout. So I didn't use those words. I go, hey, do you guys want to stay after and move with me? You know, that was how it started. Yeah, okay, we'll try that. So stop what you're doing at 4, we'll meet at 4. And so we started doing some things. And then it was like, okay, this is good. So then I put it out through Warsaw schools, and whoever could come, I encouraged to get away from school. Because it's never done. It's never done. So you got to get away. So we did. And so we've been doing this now. And they joined, and some of them work out 2 days a week, some of them work out 3 days a week, some of them more. But they came in the state of just as you are. And I did have some go, oh, I'll meet up with you when I get in shape. No, that's why you're coming, to get to the point of where you want to be. So it's worked out, and it's been great. Now some of those same teachers that I hear from, and even tonight, I had a class, 4:30 to 5, HIIT class, and these same ladies, without asking them, they're going, I have had the worst week. I'm floating now. This is good. I just came out of this energy. I can do this. Like, go home, make it. The thing that made me the saddest, I think, is when I heard them say, I have nothing left to give to my family. I am running on empty. It's my job. I go home and I have nothing. And that made me sad, because I thought, these are people. These people, your kids, my 4 kids, and I got grown ones here, but this is important. So that is what I'm hearing. They're not as sick. Stress levels are reduced. Energy rising. And you notice I didn't say stress gone. No, it's not gone. It will never be gone. But what I do know is you become a fierce warrior then. So, whatever. I know you can connect. I don't care if you are a stay-at-home mom, if you are in the workforce, if you are retired, if you are whatever it is, I know you can connect with this. And so I would hear this with these people, and it encouraged me. But then I started to ask myself, you probably know this. Have you heard people say to you, working out is good for you? You feel better when you're working out. You do receive energy. Not when you're working out and you're burned, and you might not love doing whatever it is you're doing, but you walk away feeling good, and it does give you energy. But why don't we take time to do it? Any ideas on that? Thoughts? It's what? It's horrible?
No, retired.
Retired? It's effort. It's effort. What else?
Also, by the time you're done teaching all day, we're done.
I heard that. I have, what she just said, I don't care if you're teaching, whatever it is you're doing, you get to the end of your day, and I've had the most difficult weekend today. It was a pretty tough day. I've got a pretty rough group. And you just want to go home and crawl under the bed or something. I don't know, maybe that's weird, but here's what I've discovered. If I can get people to think this way, that if I do it right away, like I will tell you, I love it. I love it. It doesn't take much to motivate me. I love it. But I can tell you, if I have to go home and get dinner, sit down, I really am done. It's hard. It's hard because I used to teach later night classes. I don't even want to go. But if I'm in the midst of my day and I tell these teachers, and I'm telling you wherever you are in your life, you put your time into work, your responsibilities, and you make it a point. I'm going to make a plan, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. And I would tell you, ladies, you are not lazy for one thing. Okay, women are just not. We put our health on the back burner. That's what we do. We put everybody else in front of us. We take care of everybody else. And my challenge is to you, you have things in your life that you value and you carve time out and you say, it's almost sacred, don't touch it. Don't touch it. My Sunday morning with my family in church, don't touch that. That's my time. That's sacred to me. Working out is sacred to me because I have one body. You have one body. So my challenge is this to you. You're hearing good things tonight, and it's real. It's real. I'm 51. I got time to go. But at 51, I realized I have one body, one shot. What am I doing? What's important to me? If it's important to me, I'm going to carve the time out. You don't touch it. So I tell these teachers, and I'm telling you, I don't care if you're a teacher or whatever you are, you say, I'm going to grab somebody for accountability. You are my partner, and the days that I'm like, I am down, they're going to look at you and go, you got 30 minutes, we're going. This stuff, this work, whatever it is, it's going to be there, and it is, it's true. It's all going to be there. So I don't care what it is, you make the time, and you carve that time out, get your accountability person to be your tag team partner, and you go at it, and you make a plan now. So today's the day. No more excuses. No. One shot. You've got one shot at this. So I would tell you, I'm glad to. I love these. I found these. Not very techy. I'm pretty proud of copied and pasted these and stuff. I love these. But you can email me. I'd be glad to just talk to you in general, how to get started if you're like, I don't know. I would be glad to talk to you. I am a teacher by day, a fitness trainer by night, and I personal train. Love to meet with you on that level. I teach different fitness classes. Love to work with you on that. Javerny is a place that has been my sweet spot since it opened, because you come in and there's women of all shapes, all sizes, all fitness levels. We meet you where you are. My mother, after my father passed, died within 48 hours suddenly. My mother, a year ago, could have crumbled at 75. We started her here, and she's fierce, and she's met some beautiful women, and she's rocking it over there. So we meet you right where you are. So I invite you to come over to Javerny. It's an incredible place. If you want to just talk to me, right there it is. Email me, and I'll be glad to connect with you. So listen to the rest of what they have to say. We kind of all intertwine. So
All right. Thank you, Rachel. And yeah, I totally understand. My wife's a teacher, so I don't quite understand the life of a teacher, but I live secondhand. Yeah, I do. So I'm going to be talking about thyroid health, how stress can affect the thyroid health. So my name is Scott. I'm the health and nutrition coach here at AlignLife. Trisha and I were just commenting on that I am the only male in the building tonight, so I'm honored to be here. Yeah. So, how many of you knew that stress could have a direct effect on your thyroid function? How many of you knew that? Okay. So stress is one of the leading causes of thyroid dysfunction in our lives today. Okay. So some causes of stress: blood sugar imbalances. Okay. Poor gut health, food intolerances. So if you have a dairy allergy or gluten sensitivity, something like that. Okay. Chronic infections that you may or may not know of, environmental toxins, pollution, that sort of thing. Autoimmune problems. Okay. Inflammation and extended caloric restriction. This one is one of my favorites, actually, not favorites, but the one I talk about a lot. Who's ever gone on a diet and then just plateaued really, really hard and no matter what they did could not lose any more weight, right? So that stress, that affects your thyroid. Okay, so when our body wants to be at equilibrium, like homeostasis, right? Has everybody heard that word, homeostasis? So when we take calories away from our body, what our body needs to function, we remove homeostasis, and our body, after a while, fights back from that. Okay. So when you're under the amount of calories you need for a long time, that's a stress to your body. Okay. And that can affect your thyroid function. So I'm just going to talk quickly here about 5 ways stress can cause hypothyroidism. So this is some pretty nerdy stuff, some stuff that I love. You will have a chance to learn a little bit more about this, and I can explain more later on. I am going to move through this here pretty quickly, but hopefully pick up something. So the first one is HPA axis disruption. So HPA axis is hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal axis. Okay. So what happens is the chronic stress. Okay, this depresses hypothalamic and pituitary function. All right. The hypothalamus and pituitary are what stimulate the thyroid to release TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, or they release TSH, which is what stimulates the thyroid. Okay, so if they're not producing enough TSH, our thyroid's not going to be stimulated. Okay, so that's why the first reason why. Second reason why is it reduces the conversion of T3 or T4 to T3. That should be actually. So T4 is the inactive version, and the majority of the thyroid hormone that our body produces is T4. That's inactive and has to turn it into T3 before it can use it. Okay, every single cell in your body has thyroid hormone receptor. So it's very, very important that the T4 is getting converted over into T3. Okay, so inflammatory cytokines interfere with the conversion in the liver and the gut. So 60% of thyroid conversion from T4 to T3 actually happens in the gut. Okay, how many people of you knew that? Okay, or 60% in the liver, excuse me, and then 20% in the gut, right? So this inflammation that's caused by stress is going to interfere with that conversion. Okay, it's going to make our livers unhappy and sluggish, and then we're not going to get as much conversion that we need. Okay, promotes autoimmunity by weakening immune barriers. All right, so it weakens the immune system, and that's Hashimoto's. Has everyone heard of Hashimoto's before? So a type of hypothyroidism, right, that is an autoimmune. So your body is actually attacking its own thyroid, okay? So has anyone heard the term leaky gut? Kind of a catchphrase now, right? So when these things get through your gut, and these particles can penetrate the wall of your gut, right? And that's going to weaken your immune system. Up to 80% of your immune system is in your gut, right? So then now we get these autoimmune problems and a whole host of other issues, okay? So number 4, the thyroid hormone resistance. Inflammation, again, suppresses the receptor site sensitivity. Just like I said earlier, every single cell in the body has a receptor site for thyroid hormone. Okay, and what can happen is through inflammation, particularly through like gluten. Okay, gluten actually mimics the same, has a similar molecular structure to thyroid hormone. So what can happen is that can bind to the same receptor sites, and then that blocks the thyroid hormone from getting in those sites, right? So when the hormone site isn't sensitive, then it can't uptake the hormone that we need it to, okay? I know this is a lot of information I'm throwing at you pretty quickly here, but stay with me one more time. High hormonal imbalances, excess estrogen. So high cortisol decreases the liver's ability to clear that excess estrogen, okay? That's going to raise TBG levels, which is thyroxine binding globulin. Okay, when those are high, that's going to decrease the percentage of free thyroid hormone. Okay, so we have less thyroid hormone production. So that's a lot of confusing stuff, but just gives you an idea of there's 5 different ways. It's not just one way, but 5 different ways that stress directly affects your thyroid production. Okay, so some common symptoms here: fatigue, headaches, decreased immunity, difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up. Okay, mood swings, sugar and caffeine cravings, irritability or lightheadedness between meals. Does it ever happen like you get really lightheaded, or your blood sugar drops? Eating to relieve fatigue, you get really so tired, and you all you can do to wake up is eat a little bit. Dizziness when not moving. even ulcers, and then weight gain despite diet and exercise, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, okay? So I want to give you 3 easy things that you can take home today to start improving thyroid function right away, okay? The first one is consume a whole foods, anti-inflammatory diet, okay? The way that I like to explain this is the best is eat the foods that God created, not the food that man created, okay? So man has this problem where we think that we can design food in a way that's better than the way that God intended it, which is just really, really silly. In my mind, it makes no sense. Okay, so eat foods, whole foods. It's going to help regulate your blood sugar, decrease inflammation, improve your gut, and reduce the food intolerances. Okay, especially avoiding gluten and the high omega-6 oils like vegetable oil and canola oil. Those things are going to cause huge amounts of disruption in your gut. One of the leading causes of leaky gut, highly inflammatory. As well as gluten, like I talked on earlier, that can directly, that mimics the thyroid hormone, and your cells are going to take that up instead of taking the thyroid hormone. And as well, like Dr. Morgan touched on earlier, okay, when aldosterone decreases, our kidneys excrete sodium, so your body was craving it, okay? So it's good, especially if you're eating these whole foods diet that don't have a lot of natural sodium present. So if you're eating something that's canned or at the package, a lot of times you're getting a whole bunch of sodium with it, right? But if you're eating like meat and veggies, it's good that you can add a little bit of sodium on there, and that's going to give the sodium that your body needs. Next one is eat breakfast. It's going to help you normalize blood sugar and minimize stress response. Has anybody heard of intermittent fasting and/or tried intermittent fasting? Okay, that's a big thing in the market right now, and that works really, really well for some people. For someone who's struggling with adrenal stress and thyroid function, a lot of times we want to get breakfast in because that's gonna keep our blood sugar normal, and that's gonna help reduce that stress response right away. So I intermittent fast every once in a while, and I work with people who do, and it works really, really well. But breakfast is really, really important for people who think they might be struggling with some thyroid issues. The third one is reduce or eliminate use of stimulants like caffeine. I know this is one that's going to make people really, really sad. It makes me sad. I promise you, I love coffee as much as anybody in here. I can drink way too much. Most of the time, that's okay, and I have dealt with it. So if you have to drink coffee in order to wake yourself up in the morning, okay, then you're letting coffee do the job that your thyroid and that your natural hormones should do for you, right? So you drink coffee to lift you up, to create more heat, to generate heat in your body, to wake you up, make you feel better, get more blood flow, right? Which that's what our thyroid is supposed to be doing for us. So caffeine can actually exacerbate the issues. If we already have chronically high cortisol, then those can just make it worse and interfere with things we want to. So I hope some of this information was helpful to you. These are a few things here that you can start doing right away that's going to help. I'm actually doing an entire workshop myself just on thyroid. If you are interested, on Tuesday the 28th, and I believe you have a flyer in your things. So if you're interested, I can help you or tell you a little more information about that. And that we're just gonna similar setting. We're just gonna discuss all about the thyroid. All right. And I appreciate your time. Thank you for not throwing anything at me or anything. I'll hand it back to Dr.
Alright, so I hope you guys just learned as much as I did about nutrition. That's why I'm not in nutrition. Alright, so I promised you guys I'd give you some of your own tools that you can use to help reduce your cortisol levels. First off, of course, the food stimulants, as he just said. I'm not going to regurgitate everything. Y'all heard it. The next one is block breathing. Has anyone in here ever heard of block breathing? Do you guys know how to do it? So this is one of my favorites. I do it multiple times a day. It's really simple. So whenever you feel like your heart rate elevating, or you feel like you're starting to get a stress response, all you're going to do is you're going to take a deep breath in, and you inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold that for 4 seconds. You just keep repeating that, and you can literally feel your body physiologically calm down and relax a little bit. Okay. Again.
Say that again.
4 seconds for everything. So 4 second inhale, then you hold. Then you exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold.
They also call it combat breathing.
Or combat breathing, if any. Thank you. All right, so another one is meditation. Meditation's great. I do it all the time. It helps you like get centered and calm, get in tune with your body. It really lets you like pay attention to what's going on. Okay, if you're getting stressed out when you're meditating, I think you should probably go do yoga. They can help you with that. I don't know what's going on. All right, so getting enough sleep again, because when you get the full 8 hours of sleep, remember it takes 4 hours for the cortisol to get out. It prolongs the amount of time for the cortisol to get out of your system, but it also helps you wake up the next day feeling refreshed and not anxious and freaking out, okay? Picking a hobby, that just increases your sense of well-being and relaxation. When you're happy, you're not secreting cortisol in your body. It's just that they cannot go hand in hand. Increasing exercise, this was Miss Rachel went over with all of us. We all know all about that. And thinking positive. This is a new one that I just learned, and it's awesome. I don't know if you guys have heard of doing daily gratitudes. But when you're in a state of gratitude, physiologically speaking, you cannot produce cortisol. So if we can all wake up and do our daily gratitudes, I think that would be a really awesome way to start the day, just to start it on a good note. Or like, this is like you close your eyes and you really like put a smile on your face and feel happy about something, okay? You can't just say like, oh, I'm really thankful that the sun's out today. You have to actually get in a state of being grateful for this to have an effect, okay? I think that one's an easy one to practice, and I would be really interested to hear y'all's results. Okay. All right. So obviously, I have to talk about chiropractic care. Who here is already a practice member? Most of us. Okay. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm just going to tell you what a subluxation is really quickly. Don't worry, y'all. It's not going to be the 10-minute recorded findings video. So for those of you guys who aren't practice members, a subluxation is just an interference or misalignment of two bones in your spine. When the bones misalign, it puts irritation on the nerves that exit between the bones, right? This interference causes dysfunction or decreases the information being sent between the body and the brain. So the nerves are how the body communicates with the brain and vice versa. When we increase or when we interfere with the information, it creates dysfunction in our body, aka organ failure. So the adrenal glands are located on top of your kidneys. They're teensy, they're about 2 inches big. Most frequently, the nerves that supply the adrenal glands is located at T9. It can be lower. I think in 25% of people, it's literally between like T11 and L2. But for the most part, it's going to be T9, which is right at the bottom part of your rib cage right here, okay? So from the scientific standpoint, your spine has, I'll get to that in a second. Your spine has a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. So I talked briefly earlier about the sympathetic being responsible for your fight or flight, right? That's going to elevate the heart rate, shunt the blood away from the reproduction and all that fun stuff. Your parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest. It is what calms you down, lets you digest food, lets you like prepare your body. The parasympathetic nervous system, the nerves for that are at the two extremes. So it's from your neck up and literally from your sacrum down. So your lumbar spine is still considered part of your parasympathetic or your sympathetic nervous system. Just keeping that in mind. Your adrenal glands are in your fight or flight system, okay? Sheesh, thank you. So there are 3 T's of stress. We say that thoughts, traumas, and toxins can create stress, okay? Now, as far as the toxins, it can be environmental or internal, things that you're eating, things that you're breathing. As far as the traumas, it can be macro versus micro stresses. Apparently that's all I put on here, that's fine. So macro stresses are your car accidents, your slipping and falling and hitting a hay, or your concussions. The micro stresses are, you know, poor posture, or sitting on a wallet or your phone every day at work, having your hips off center. All of these things affect your spine. So whenever you get a subluxation, these things literally always affect your nervous system, right? So with the subluxation, you get joint misalignment, you get nerve irritation, you get inflammation and swelling in that joint, okay? You also get muscle spasms, and it also causes your body to release more of the stress hormones. So with every subluxation, regardless of where in your body it is increasing all of those things, okay? So can we see where if you have a subluxation at T9 that goes to your adrenals, this itself can directly affect the function of our adrenal glands? Okay, so our adrenal glands are what's secreting the cortisol, in case I didn't mention that. So yeah, a subluxation at T9 is going to cause dysfunction in the adrenal glands. That being said, a subluxation anywhere in your body is going to cause it to release stress hormones, okay? Making matters worse, if you have a subluxation in your parasympathetic nervous system, so in the top or the very bottom, that can cause dysfunction in your body's like rest and digest. That means that your sympathetic nervous system is going to be ramped up and taking over because of dysregulation of the calming parts, okay? So stress at the adrenal glands can cause it. Subluxations anywhere in your body can cause it. And on top of that, if you ramp down the parasympathetic nervous system, it's just a losing battle, okay? You cannot relax, you cannot get into the most calm state possible. All right. With that being said, I want to leave you guys with one story that is really relevant to this, really pertinent to women's health. This one hit home for me. When I was down in Atlanta, I had a patient, her name was Miss Lilibet, and she was referred to me by a neurologist because she was experiencing bouts of vertigo every 2 to 4 weeks. Who here has ever had vertigo? Anyone? Yeah, you've had it. Yeah. It's, for those of you guys who haven't, it's the worst. You get the black spots, you get dizzy, the room can spin, sometimes you pass out. Like, it's terrifying. So, again, she was getting this every 2 to 4 weeks. So a little bit about Miss Lilibet. She was a 46-year-old mother and wife. She had 2 kids. She was a counselor at a school for kids who had a less than awesome home life. So her job was really stressful all the time. On top of that, she lived in downtown Atlanta and worked on the other side of downtown Atlanta. Who here's been to downtown Atlanta? For those of you who have not been, let me tell you, everything they say about Atlanta traffic is true. It is horrendous. It doesn't matter what time you're going, where you're going. You can go 2 miles and it will take you 27 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. It's the worst. So she was driving through this every day, on the way to work in the morning, on the way home from work in the afternoon. I don't know how she did it. So by the time she came to see me, her vertigo was so bad that her husband had to drop down from work from full-time to part-time because she couldn't drive. Her vertigo, her spells came on when she would turn and look over her shoulder driving to try and avoid another car. And I will never forget, after my first adjustment, she had to wait 2 hours in traffic for her husband to pick her up because she had a bout of vertigo and she couldn't drive. And I felt so helpless for that poor woman. But so she came in, I started adjusting her. I had a segment in her low back and a segment up in her neck. I saw her twice a week, and at the end of her 2nd week, we saw something really interesting happen. She got menstrual cramps instantly, or what she thought, like, it seemed similar to what the menstrual cramps she used to have were. Like, well, that's really peculiar. So the reason this was strange is because Mrs. Lilibet was told by her OBGYN that she was going through early menopause. She hadn't had a cycle in 6 months. That's what her neurologist thought was giving her the vertigo, so he just said, here, go see a chiropractor. Shoved her off. So yeah, after the first 2 weeks, she got menstrual cramps. That was strange. Okay. I feel confident that what I did, so I sent her on. She comes back the next week. I adjust the exact same 2 bones that I've been working on for the first 2 weeks. This time, something even more miraculous happened. I adjusted her low back. For those of you guys who haven't been adjusted, she was on her side. I adjusted her. She lay on her back to get up. She sat up off the table and had started her cycle instantly, like on the table instantly. Ladies, that's how I knew I was on the right segment. We had no idea that was going to happen. Granted, she was a little bit pissed. I'd love to go back to going through their cycle when they thought they were done. Yeah, I'd be angry too. Anyway, so we sent her home. She went back to her OB. Her OB was like, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. You are clearly not going through early menopause. That was over a year ago. She's had regular cycles ever since then. I graduated. She transitioned to another clinician. After about 2 months of care, her vertigo was gone entirely. She is now a wellness patient with no complaints. She doesn't have migraines. She has her monthly cycle. She doesn't get vertigo. Her husband was able to go back to working full time. Ladies, this is what the chiropractic adjustment can do for you, okay? I know not everyone in here has vertigo, and I know not everyone has the world's worst periods, you know. That being said, I know a lot of people in this room have bad periods, have bad cycles, and these are not things that you should have to be dealing with. I hope it's become evident that this is something that I'm really passionate about. For those of you guys who aren't practice members, please let me get your spine checked. You know, nothing else, just to make sure that you're functioning properly. That being said, thank you guys so much for coming. This was my first talk in the community, and I'm so grateful that you guys all came out. in all honesty, I love this. I get nervous as all get out, obviously, I'm still working on it. But who here has a job? Okay, who here likes lunch? Great. I have a shortened version of this that I feel a lot more comfortable presenting. We can do it in your office. I would love to come talk to you guys. We could do it just for women. The men can do their own thing. I don't really care. We could bring one, obviously, but if you guys would let me do this in your office for all the ladies, we could do it for a department. We provide lunch, especially those of you guys who have like secretary jobs. I know a lot of people in here are HR work, etc. Like, how many women do you guys work with who are stressed out and don't know these things, right? Please, let me help you. Let me help them. Lastly, we have some really cool things going on. For those of you guys who are already practice members, we want to say thank you so much for coming. We are offering a free 15-minute consult and in-body scan with our health coach, Scott. I might be doing that after hearing all of this. For those of you guys who aren't practice members, we want to do everything that we can to help you. Again, I don't want you guys to have to live through what Miss Lilibeth went through, what I went through, because again, I thought that I was healthy when this was going on. So for those of you guys who are practice members, we're offering our consult, our x-rays, our new patient exam for $59. Normally it's $170 to $250, but we're offering it tonight because we want to help you guys get well, okay? That being said, we're only doing that for tonight because procrastination is the thief of our health, right? Learn that from Dr. Kevin. These things don't get better, okay? They fade and then they come back when they're worse. So we want to stop it before it gets to that point. So in all of the folders, we have a schedule of our upcoming talks. I really want to encourage you guys to take a look at them. Scott is doing an awesome talk in a couple of weeks on thyroid hormone specifically. That's going to go really well in conjunction with everything that we talked about tonight. Also, we've got some health talks coming up that I'm going to be a part of. I have a goal to do my next one without holding these and reading these in front of you guys. So, if you guys are there, please hold me accountable. Register, of course, because we have limited seating, but hold me accountable so that I don't do this next time, okay? I'm counting on y'all to tell me, like, no, don't do that, all right? And lastly, we're doing a fun raffle. So we have 3 prizes tonight. For those of you guys who did not write your name down on tickets, definitely get that in and get Patricia before we do the raffle. The first one we're doing is a free 60-minute massage with our lady here. She's great. You don't miss that. Sorry, I'm getting my next week and I'm so excited. We're also doing a week of classes, a week of free classes over at Cranberry Fitness. So that's going to be fun. I haven't been there yet, but I understand it's great for the ladies. They do a lot of the fun classes. And then the last thing is we're doing 3 free specialized classes with Miss Rachel Gross specifically, okay? So if you guys don't have your names already on some tickets, go do that soon and get it to Tricia. Register for any of the upcoming talks, seriously, because I'm going to see you guys on there and make sure I tell you to hold me accountable. All right, and I'll be in the back for about 5 more minutes to answer any questions if you guys have any, but thank you again so much for coming out. Enjoy the wine, there's a little bit left. Yes. All right. Does anyone need to put their name in? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Tricia's doing the raffle. I'm not in charge.
All right, ladies. So, no problem. That's this one, and I'll take that. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so as Morgan mentioned, for everyone that attended tonight, Scott is giving away a free 15-minute nutritional consultation with an in-body scan complimentary to everyone who's attended. So if you are interested and you'd like to schedule, Valerie and Samantha are at the front desk, so just stop by and see them before you leave, and we'll make sure we get you guys scheduled for that, okay? And then so the first one we will raffle off is the week at Javerny. Let's see. Miss Amy. 1 week at Javerny.
Woo!
So you got that one.
No, you have to really come now.
She's been trying for
Scott
years.
has some information so that you can take it with you over to Javerny.
Oh, I also have information.
Okay. And Rachel,
And a
if
car
you want
ride.
to talk to her, that's your call. All right, the 3 specialized classes with Miss Rachel back there. Lynn, Kelly.
Woo!
That's you. That's awesome. And
She's not
finally,
coming.
the
You're not coming, are
60-minute
you?
massage goes
Dang
to
it!
Hey, I used to go.
Jenny
going.
You're coming now.
Soloway.
Nice.
60-minute massage. So just stop by the front desk and schedule with the girls and they'll get that taken care of for you. You're welcome. Otherwise, like she said, thank you all so much for coming. I hope that you took a lot away from this information. There is a lot of information within your folders for you. Also inside your folders is the workshop feedback form. We always want to know what you guys think, if the information was helpful, if there's things specifically that you want to hear from us. So fill that out, leave it at the front desk before you leave, and like she said, there's plenty of wine and fruit and cheese in the back for you, okay? So you'll have a wonderful night. Thanks for coming.
Grapes are gone.
You're welcome.
Got all the
No, I will. I'll bring you back when I come back. I'll bring your stuff too. That works.